All right, it's your boy Masta B here live for the MMB Radio Podcast in the MMB Radio Studios, where no topic is too big or too small. We talk about them all. And on the phone lines right now, I have adult film star Miss Ella Nova. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How's it going?
Doing awesome. Thank you for talking to us tonight. A lot of people may or may not be familiar with your work, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say I'm not super familiar with your work. But I've been watching a lot of it over the last couple days, and we were talking a little bit prior to the interview, prior to the podcast. Yeah. We were talking about some things that we got to talk about tonight because you opened me up into a whole new thing that I thought I've seen and done it all when it came to adult film stuff. But this is totally new stuff to me. But before we get into that, kind of let everybody know where you're originally from.
Well, I'm a Texas girl, born and raised in Austin, Texas, which anyone from Austin will claim, and I think we're correct in saying it's the best city in Texas.
Everything is bigger in Texas. Is that true?
That's true.
It is true.
Yeah. Bigger hair, bigger personalities, big cars, bigger waist.
Now, how does somebody, because when you think of Texas, and I mean, me, when I think of Texas, I think, conservative Texas, good old boys, God's country. And then you doing porn, and not just any kind of porn. You've done some pretty wild shit. I
like to get really weird.
How did that all come about? I mean, like, when you were younger, did you watch a lot of it? Did you kind of just...
Yeah, man. Well, I was homeschooled, which just means surfed the porn on the internet all day long. And so Texas is full of a lot of really conservative people, but that makes the liberal people also be able to slide into the same loopholes. So I was just this little hippie girl in this red state being homeschooled, and I just was on the internet all day looking at weird porn and learning about my sexuality, and and just sort of had free reins and learn more about that than maybe anything else.
Now, why were you homeschooled? Like, were you, was it a preference from your parents, or were you a bad child or something, or?
No, it was the opposite. They just decided I was such a little weirdo in school and just a little crazy star child raised by hippies. They were like, we cannot send her to public middle school. They will crush the hopes and dreams out of her. We've got to take her and raise her in a forest with some flowers.
Now, what were your hopes and dreams before you found the internet? Did you have like a passion for something before you explored and found porn?
Yeah, well, I sort of putzed around a little bit. I never did the college thing or really planned out careers. I sort of always looked at that fun, like, vocation. Like, I wanted to do hair and makeup. I wanted to do, like, fashion. All the stuff that sort of ties into porn. I just liked the performance and being flashy. So I dabbled in a little bit of that and never really went anywhere with it. And then when I was 19, I started webcamming when I still lived with my mom. She would go to work all day, and I would webcam at my house, and then she would come home, and I would take everything down and hide it all. And it was sort of just like my first foray into any sort of sex work.
So she had no clue you were using her electricity, her internet, to promote smut across the World Wide Web.
She didn't know. She knows now. I told her. I let her in on the secret, and I think it was more of a ignorance is bliss, like, that's weird. I'm noticing things, but I'm not putting it together because I don't want to think about it. La, 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 la,
Now you mentioned that your family and your parents were like the hippies and everything. How were they? Were they very like sexual people? Were they kind of open about that stuff, or was it, kind of like taboo to talk about it around you?
No, it was never a big deal. Sex was always something that me and my sister both encouraged to ask questions about, be informed about, just, nothing, we were never shamed. And, like, in a lot of ways, when I was in public school, I got, like, and even in the homeschool community, just my knowledge about sex and sort of openness about it would get me labeled, like, slut, and, like, a lot of the kids would make fun of me, and, just because they didn't understand that it's just a natural thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I got labeled a pervert when I was in college because my first experience doing these type of podcasts and everything, I had Adult Film Star on, and I was told I had like sexual problems. And it's a running joke now because my father at the time, I mean, they were paying tuition, you know. So every time we make like a perverted joke about something, so it's like, you got sexual problems, you know.
Oh man!
But it's just like, it's one of those things that personally I feel like it's something that's normal to me. It's natural, and maybe not some of the stuff that you've done on video may be so natural to some people. So kind of take us through how you went from webcamming to actually screwing on film.
Yeah. So I webcam for a little while, and then moved out of my mom's house into a setting where I couldn't webcam. I was living with like a bunch of dudes, and I didn't want to deal with it, you know. And then so it trickled off, and it was just more of like, past life, like a fantasy. And I started just getting really restless, and really just like, you know, maybe I'll start webcam again, maybe something. And then my sister at the time lived in the Bay Area, and so I just sort of was looking at campsites again and thinking about it, and I was like, maybe I should try this. You know, I had seen cam girls who would make their own content and sell videos and do girl shows with the other cam girls, and I told myself, I was like, okay, like I could do like just solo stuff, like cam shows, and maybe girl. I will never do boy girl. Like I don't think I could ever handle that. You know, so I like very slowly, you know, I applied to kink.com. They're the first company to rent me back from Texas, because I wasn't local, you know, who's this random girl just trying to shoot porn, and she has no idea what she's doing from Texas. So I ended up flying out to interview with kink.com, and they said that they wanted to book me. And then I basically, while I was interviewing at kink.com, I also interviewed at Starbucks, and I got a job at Starbucks, and then I moved to the Bay Area, and then I quit my job at Starbucks, and then I started shooting porn. It like went from like just sort of an idea, and then snowballed really quickly into me actually showing up and doing the deed.
Now you were homeschooled, so what was your interaction with guys like growing up? I mean, were you obviously did cam and everything, so you were very aware of what you saw online, but were you in any sexual relationships with guys? And
yeah, some. Mostly I like pushed away the homeschool community and started just hanging out with the older kids, you know, and like just 17, 18, Austin's a college town, so I was hanging out with the college kids and the older guys and going to shows and stuff, and had my little fake ID, and I would go out, and I was kind of like, I was more of like a prude in like my sexual partners, but I really loved the chase. I would just like love to just make out at parties with guys. Just meet a dude, make out, hang out, have a weird time, and then go home. It was like my favorite thing to do at parties. Like, go around. I'm going to make out with two guys. And like, oh.
So you liked being the
and
tease.
so like, yeah, I like to catch. I like to play the game, and I love to flirt. To me, it's not like it is about the sex and the physical, but I want to feel charmed. I want to feel like seduced, and I want to do that to you. I want a cat and mouse and have an intellectual intercourse first.
So you want to just
break.
It kind of leads into some of the stuff that you shot, and it kind of leads us to what we were talking about when I first started the podcast. You've done some pretty, I don't even know how to describe it. It's pretty like aggressive stuff. Like you've done a lot of like,
aggressive is a good word.
Aggressive.
I do a lot of extreme anal stuff.
Extreme anal stuff. Now, I mean, obviously people are used to, you know, seeing anal sex and everything, but you've like stuck like objects that I'm not even like I wouldn't even foresee going in someone's asshole. So first off, how do you work your way up to doing something like that? I mean,
well, like I've always enjoyed anal, but until I started shooting it, I never really got super into it. I was never a huge butt slut. Like I could do anal, I would do it for my cam shows, but then I pretty much got all my anal training on the job. I got a booking for everythingbut.com, and it was like I was really nervous, and the day before I had just shot this extreme anal video with Phoenix Marie and Mr. Pete, and the theme of that had sort of been gape training, you know, where you like open and close your asshole. And so I had just done this whole anal scene, and I was really nervous, but she had booked me with these two other really badass bitches, Angel Allwood and Lee Alexis. And they sort of just trained my asshole on camera during that shoot. It was a lot of like,
so during this whole shoot, you were actually being like broken in on camera.
Yeah. I like to do all of my, I pretty much don't warm up for anal scenes. I do a little bit, but I like to do all of my warming up and stretching on camera.
Now, why is that?
So it's,
I mean, isn't that painful? I mean, I'm trying to look at it, you know, from your point of view. But I'm like, I'm a dude, and obviously I don't want nothing up my asshole. So I'm thinking if it were me, and it's like, shit, if I really had to fucking do this, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, at least I'm going to prepare myself. But you don't do any prep. You just go right into it.
Yeah, and it's crazy because a lot of it is breathing, and I think some of it is, I kind of think of my asshole. I don't know if this is scientifically accurate, but this is how I think about how it felt to learn how to stretch my asshole. Okay. When you blow up a balloon for the first time, it is very small, and it takes a minute to sort of get that first stretch, and then it'll go to capacity, and you have a nice balloon, and then you let all the air out, and it goes back to almost to the same balloon shape, but the next time you go to blow it up, it's a little bit easier.
What happens when you blow the balloon and it pops? Like, you pop your asshole.
Not a perfect metaphor. But I feel like after I did my first anal shoot and had them sort of like coaching my breathing and making me feel really good and making me come, but also putting bigger things than I've ever had in my ass. I think the first time I got fisted in my ass was like the game changer. It was like, okay, there's a hand in me. I can do anything.
Now, obviously, I'm not an expert in anal sex. But, I mean, there's probably a lot of fans out there who are, you know, even if they're curious or not curious, you know, would have to question, how much can a human asshole take? You know what I mean? Like, you say you're doing this gaping stuff, and mind you, I was all new to a lot of this stuff prior to this. So, like, how fast can you go before it's dangerous?
Well, I have no intention of seeing what the biggest thing in the world I can fit in my asshole is. Like, I like to stretch it, and for me, I haven't really hit any really, really big walls. Like, my biggest toys have been my biggest toys, but I'm not trying to size up again. But there are some girls, I know that depending on how much you use it, your asshole can only take so much. But you have to get pretty extreme with it. And that's me saying extreme, coming from this point of already being called extreme. So, you know, a lot of people really fetishize the rosebud and, like, prolapsing. And it just depends on how much you do of that. There is, like, a surgery that has to happen for some people who get really extreme, where they have their, you know, insides back on the inside. And that's always the goal, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I never want to get to a point where I am afraid I'm going to hurt myself permanently or otherwise, or where I get to a point where I think it won't go back to the way it was, which I'm amazed at because I have no idea what my asshole can do. Like, I attribute my asshole's performance to my scene partners and my director. You know, Ariel X has shot almost all of my extreme anal scenes, and I get to the point where I go on set and I'm like, hey, Ariel, like, you've played with my ass, you've seen what I can do. And she's like, I think you can take this toy. Thunk. And then she puts something down on the table, and I go, oh, well, that looks way too big. And she's like, oh, it's fine. You can do it. And then I lay down and I breathe, and my scene partner helps me, and I put a Hitachi on my cunt, and then it goes in. Or it doesn't go in, and we do something else. But everyone around me is so good with assholes. I can't do those things to my asshole. When I'm at home, there's a limit. But if I have somebody else coaxing and teasing and you know, you get into the adrenaline of anal, and she just, I think when we were texting earlier, I called my asshole a mouthy bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And she definitely is.
Now, you mentioned terminology, rosebud. Now, people are probably thinking, they're probably Googling, and if you're Googling, make sure you're not at work, or even if you're listening to this podcast is probably not safe for work, but even if you're Googling rosebudding or whatever.
Yeah, be prepared. You'll get the most extreme ones first.
Yes. Kind of explain to people what is a rosebud.
Yeah. A rosebud is when you gape your asshole, so the opening is open, and then you push a little bit so that, I guess, the inside of your butthole comes out a little, and you just see this pink little fleshy flower poke through.
It does quite look like a rosebud, I have to admit. When I've seen some of your videos, I'm like, oh, wow, that's probably a pretty good, accurate description of it. But continue.
Yeah, and a lot of people really fetishize it, and some people's rosebud is a little more in bloom, shall we say, and it comes out a lot more. Sometimes they'll push it, and it'll actually be like some flesh sticking out, like reverse butthole. I don't know. I'm making motions with my hands, but you can't see them. Some people like to go a lot further, and then some people like to suck on it. Some people get really, really filthy nasty with it, and it's a huge fetish for a lot of people. I like to keep mine right on the cusp. I don't like to, I like to just tease it, and it sort of is an accidental rosebud. She likes to show off. But, yeah, I always thought it was it's weird. Our bodies are weird. I love buttholes.
Now, when I first watched this, my first initial reaction is, okay, this can't be safe. Like, what happens if the rosebud doesn't go back in? Like, has that ever happened?
Then I mean, it's similar to, like, hernia surgery, right? You have to have them sewn back in. I think I could go into the technical specifics. I don't know how medical gory we're going.
There's no
but,
here.
they basically take the part of your butthole that's like worn out, and they cut it, and then they sew the new part down. So it like shortens your what is it called? Your butthole to like your
rectum?
Yeah, like your rectum. I guess I don't know why that didn't sound right. Like your rectum muscle, so it like shortens it. I'm clearly not the authority on this. But so yeah, they actually cut out a section, the quote unquote used up section, I don't know, the part that doesn't stay in, and then they sew it back in. But from what I hear, and this is also the rumor grapevine of butthole surgeries, you can only have it twice because they actually do take out a part of it, and then it won't be long enough. So I hope to never need it once, but there are things that could happen. And it's all about, like, resting your asshole and how much you're working it and how much you are, like, if you gape your asshole and then push like you're going to shit, it's going to, and there's nothing in there, it's going to try and push out your insides. Like, that's what that is. It's just that motion. So
now you say you do know
gape
prepping,
with awareness.
But, like, like, that would always been my concern is, like, if you're pushing, how do you not shit yourself?
Well, I don't push. I'm not, like, pushing.
Okay.
I'm not, like, but so I clean my asshole out before every anal scene, like, there's nothing in there, you don't have breakfast, nothing on the track to come through, and then you clean out. And when I sort of like rinse my ass, I do like stretch it and finger it and like pull it open a little bit and just get it warmed up. But I mean, that's as much for me as it is for the shoot.
Now, because like I said, this is all kind of mind-blowing to me. So, like I was saying, my fear is that, like, it comes out and you can't get to go back in. Now, has that ever been, like, a deterrent for you, or have you heard of other people saying, you know what, I don't know if I want to do this because I'm afraid that I might do it? And what is your, like, my thought process and my fear would be if this was me and this had happened, I got to go back into, the hospital or surgery, and, like, how the hell do you explain this happened? You get what I'm saying? Like,
tell the doc, hello, I tried to put 2 hands in my butt, and my butt came out of my butt, so.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just like when you put big, huge foreign objects up there. Like, if it were me, I'd be afraid something would get stuck up there and you can't take it out yourself. Like,
oh yeah, that's interesting. Sometimes I've done this shoot where we had these big metal ball bearings that we were putting in our asses, and it's just like a big, like a round metal ball, like a Benoit ball, but huge. And we were putting them in our asses, and it's the only time I've had something in that wasn't also out. Like plugs have an end cap, right? But it was like an insertable, and then we like put them up, and it's really weird. It is actually like shitting out these metal balls. It's like you're taking a huge leap of faith with yourself when you do that.
Well, I would have to say, if it were me, I'd better be getting paid pretty damn well to take such a chance.
Well, of like shitting on set or of pooping out your insides?
Both. I mean, to be putting like fucking cannonballs in my asshole, and the thought process that this cannonball may never come the fuck out without surgery, somebody better be paying me pretty damn good to have it in there.
Yeah, it's to me it's more of like a badge of honor. Like in porn, I feel like I get so used to just fucking and just boy girls. It's fun to go and play with your friends and be like, okay, I've got a 3-girl extreme anal scene. Let's see like what weird stuff we can do. And it's not always about biggest for me. It's just about experiencing the asshole. Like, and that's why I like to warm up on camera. I like to see the whole process and like what can your butthole do. And like at the beginning, it couldn't do this, but now it's doing this. And like, oh yeah, it's really fun. I shot this virtual reality shoot for Kink.com. They did an everything but, and I got to watch it and stare into my own asshole via virtual reality, which was the first time I had seen myself like that. It was nuts.
This is probably really far advanced for your casual porn fan out there. But you mentioned sticking these things up your ass, and it's not about size, but what is something to for people to kind of grasp what you've stuck up there? Like, what's something that you've put up there that people can be like kind of visualize the size and depth of something?
I can get most cocks in my ass, like just let me spit on it and like hold my butthole open a little bit. Cocks are pretty easy. I can get a fist in. I've never taken a male fist, but I've never really tried. Most of the time when boys are on camera, they're using their cocks. I'm trying to think. I've taken I think my biggest toy that I've taken in my ass, girth-wise, that is called it's one of the Bad Dragon brand dildos, and they make these giant cocks that are supposed to be shaped like cocks of dragons, and they're like mythological creature cocks. And so it's this giant alien-looking thing, and I have no idea, maybe like pretty fucking big. I can't even guess how big my asshole can take things because she does all the work. She's such a rock star. I think definitely like 3 or 4, like 4 inches in diameter. That sounds too small, but it also sounds big. Mm-hmm. I wasn't prepared for the size question. I think.
I'm just trying to think. Like I've seen other videos where people have taken things like, like bottles, like wine bottles.
I think I could
stuff like that.
I think I could probably fit like a wine bottle in my ass. I don't think that would be far off.
Okay. I'm trying to think of something that like your common person that's listening right now would know.
Yeah. So somebody they could look at if somebody's drinking wine right now, or like.
Yeah. Or they're Googling dragon dicks, and
yeah.
I mean, I'm all about getting the sci-fi and the geeks, and the Dungeon and Dragon fans.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if people can kind of picture in their head what's the size of a dragon dick. You're kind of asking Siri right now, like Siri, how big is a dragon's dick? So it's.
I want to say like. I could probably wrap my fingers around it, and they'd only overlap a little bit. Like, it's pretty huge. And I love speculums too. Like however big a speculum gets, I can pretty much gape with that. Okay. It just stretches open. It's just. Now, I'm miming stretching it open with my hands.
Now, how often do you do these types of scenes? Is this something that you can do all the time, or is this something that you can do once a week and then it's or once every so often?
Yeah, I don't do them very often. I like to give my butthole a lot of time to rest in between if I do those big scenes. I try not to book them any more than a week apart, and even that if I'm really pushing myself in a scene, I like to take 2 weeks to recover, but that's just luxury, I definitely only shoot 1 or 2 of those a month. But to me, extreme anal is different. I can take a big cock in my ass every fucking day of the week. I could put in a big plug. It's just doing an entire shoot that's focused on anal. It's just the duration and the interchanging of toys that really wears on me. It's not even the getting up to that size.
Now you mentioned how it's like a balloon where it's small, you blow it up and it comes back to its normal size, but have you ever had it where you felt anything afterwards? Okay, this doesn't feel like it's coming back to normal size, and how quickly does it go back to being a normal butthole?
It's funny, there's the porn girls, we always joke and Snapchat each other. After my gangbang was one of the times where we're like, oh my God, just did a gangbang, I'm afraid to poop. It's a joke that we all have, because it feels like you're still, you're going to shit out your insides, The muscles don't immediately go back to super, super tight because you've worked to warm them up. It's like any part of the muscle. It's like any other muscle in your body. You work it a little bit over a longer period of time and get it warmed up, and then you give it time to cool back down. You can't just go in and expect it to take all this and then expect it to go back. You've got to do little by little and make sure to, just keep it well oiled. I use honey. That's my what I use if I feel like I have a little tear. So I will do my gangbang, and then your asshole is, I kind of like the way it feels after it's been super fucked, because it's soft and a little swollen, and in my gangbang I did double anal. So I took 2 big cocks in my ass, and they all took turns. And so it is going to be a little stretched out. It is going to just feel like your butthole's a little bit sore, and it's just fucking sore. But I've never really had a time where I thought,
sore.
It's fucking sore.
So, this probably sounds really ignorant and stupid of me, because again, this is all new to me. But do you have to wear some type of protective clothing afterwards? Or are you just I would be afraid you're gonna, you said, you feel like your insides are coming out, you feel like you're shitting yourself all day. Do you wear a diaper or something afterwards? What do you do?
This has happened to me a couple times after an anal shoot. I really love walking to this one burrito place after I shoot. It's my favorite place, and I'll be walking there, and you shower and you do everything, but I'll just be walking and somebody will make me laugh, and I will push out just a little bit of lube into my panties from my asshole. I'll be like, oh God, I just started. Yeah, totally. And it's not I know my asshole's clean. I'm never worried about that. But I definitely have had some times where afterwards I pushed out some lube into my panties. I would have my friend check, does it look like I shit my pants? It's just lube, I promise. I just did a gangbang, But it's fun.
Why are you going to a burrito place after doing an anal gangbang? That's
are you
asking
kidding
for
me?
trouble.
Well, I mean, Mexican food is my favorite food, and I have no good answer for you other than it's comforting. And normally, you're shooting all day anal, so you haven't eaten since the night before, or you'll eat on set a little bit, but I just want a fucking meal, and at that point it doesn't matter.
I would think you'd
like
be doing like the brat diet. You know what I mean? Like you need fiber, like toast or rice or something. Like sometimes gonna make that
I know
shit
I should.
whole. Literally make the shit whole. And
Yeah, that's what usually happens. Like day after I shoot is like a lot more fiber because sometimes when you shoot like a long anal day, you'll take an Imodium or something to like help. But I feel like I always treat myself right after a shoot because it's like comfort food. You know, you have your aftercare. You're like taking care of yourself emotionally and physically from this like day of intense energy exchange, among other things. And so to me, like burrito is my favorite post-shoot food, comfort food, because it's the closest that I can get to Tex-Mex in Austin, which is like my favorite food.
You're the professional at this, so if you say you're able to eat Mexican food after getting fucked up the ass all day with all kinds of objects and multiple dicks at one time, then I'm gonna take your word for it. You're the expert on it. I don't. Yeah.
It takes a while. It's like 8-hour process maybe. Like I'll go to bed, and then the next day the burrito will come to visit. It's not like an immediate,
I thought maybe you're just like you just got done fucking, and then you were like, let's go do this, fiesta over here, and blow up my asshole even more to the point where, I don't have it. So now that we've kind of been schooled on rosebudding and what is prolonging? Is that what you're calling it?
Prolapse.
Prolapse. Okay. Prolonging the pain. I don't know. Prolapse. So this is all new stuff to me, and like I said, you definitely taught me something new tonight because I thought I've seen it all. Like I get to the point now where it's like I tell people I'm like, I watch porn and it's like it doesn't even do anything for me anymore. And I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. Like I need to see something different and extreme. And so then when I Googled you, I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is that thing coming out? And this is awesome. This is new to me because it's something I haven't seen before. Like I said, I don't.
Awesome.
I don't know if people are going to judge me on that now, but
No, that's awesome, dude. I feel like I do a lot of webcamming in my when I'm not shooting, so I feel like I deal with personal fetishes a lot. I'm like, I dig it being like, oh, you're into this weird shit? Yes, let's be into weird stuff, fetishes. I love getting weird and particular.
Yeah, because after a while, I feel like once you've seen one dick, you've seen them all. When you've seen one vagina, you've seen them all, So it's, the normal, pizza guy delivery, here you go. Oh, let's go fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it's so, like, been there, done that, I was just talking to someone, and I told him, I said, it's great. I said, I go to Exotica, and, I don't take it for granted. I've made a lot of friendships with a lot of adult film stars, so I get free swag, I get free DVDs, and I'm like, quite honestly, like, I could put it on, and I watch, like, 5 minutes of it, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of done with this, and it's not it's not a knock on the performers, it's just that,
no, I totally understand that.
Yeah, you want to see something different, that it's this rosebudding, and, all this stuff is, like, a whole new world, like Aladdin, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like we're going to sing.
I'm so glad I could introduce you to that world. It's weird, like, I never meant to be an extreme anal person. I was like, God, I'll never be like those girls, like that girl on, like, we've all seen the videos on efucked.com with crazy anal girls, and I never, like, even still, like, I understand that I do big anal, but I feel like I'm in the middle of extreme. Like I'm like lower middle class on the anal rate is how I feel, Mm-hmm. Like I could, like if I wanted to, I could go crazy with anal, but I still don't. It doesn't seem extreme to me. But I'm also submerged in like anal goddesses, like all of these porn babes that I'm constantly talking to. I'm just like, yeah, today I put this weird thing in my butt, and they're like, that's so cute. And I'm like, you're amazing. It's all perspective.
Well, I think one of the cool things about your work, and for people who are going to watch your work, is that you're doing, like, this extreme stuff, but you're really, like, fucking hot, too. I feel like I've watched, like, extreme stuff. Like, we've all dabbed in it at one time or another, you know, just for shits and giggles, you know, maybe not really watching it, you know, for enjoyment, but just watching it just for shock value. And I feel like every time I see like one of these extreme video things, I like the women are always like very like homely or very creepy looking, and it's just like it's like you feel violated after you watch it because you're like, that girl is not very attractive, and I just watched her get fucking like molested against her own will. At least it seemed like against her own will in some like foreign German porn, you know, something that's just like no English, and you're like, I just feel so like dirty. Like I feel like, you know, I need to go to church or something. But
the sort of like disengaging anal.
And it's just like, but when I looked at your stuff, I was like, wow, like she's really hot and she's cute, and like this is like,
thank you.
Yeah, I could really get into watching her, even if she didn't do extreme, and I can watch extreme and not feel disturbed. That's
a big compliment.
You know, I guess that's why I'm trying to get around to saying is thank you.
You know, anytime.
So what's something you still want to accomplish? I mean that's kind of, I guess that's a vague question when you like sticking all kinds of weird things up your ass. Like what's still really left to accomplish that, you know, isn't like totally out of this world to normal people? Because if you tell me you're gonna fucking alien on Mars, like I would probably be like, if anybody's gonna do it, you know, Ella's gonna do it, you know, like.
Oh man, I don't know. Download like Alien Tinder. I want to see what you look like first.
Yes, definitely. Swipe right or left. Do not, you know, don't pay for that shit
friends in common. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh wow, I didn't know that person was on Tinder. That person's a Martian.
Yeah. Alien Tinder, friends in common.
Yes.
I don't know. It's hard because I didn't ever think I would do any of this. Like, you know, I told you before, I like never thought I would do boy-girl. And then I was like, oh, I'll never do a gangbang. I'll never do, it's always like me surpassing my own boundaries. And what happens is, not all of the time, but I'll have something that will either be something I've made a preconceived opinion about. I'm like, oh, I'll never, for some reason, like I couldn't ever, or I'm not good enough to, or I don't want to. And especially if something like kind of grosses me out, like I used to never let anyone spit in my face or my mouth. It sort of like tunneled into my brain and started being this like taboo fantasy. And then I was like, no, don't fucking spit in my face. Spit in my face, spit in my face, spit in my face, spit in my face. Because I knew that it was this like line I was crossing with myself, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so it just sort of starts to turn me on or pique my curiosity, and then I'll get the opportunity to explore that. But honestly, most of what I've accomplished already has been the creative genius of the directors. You know, I'm pretty gung-ho on set. I show up, I'm ready to fuck, I'm ready to have a good time and laugh and play and come. And then they're the ones who say, look at this weird cart of toys. Which ones do you want to put inside you? I say, this one looks like a fucking crazy lobster claw. What do you do with that? You know?
So it sounds like it's not something that you plan. It's kind of like
it's all like developing really organically.
Very interesting.
And, yeah. So, I mean, like, I'm as curious to see where this goes as you are. My butthole is just leading the way. Hopefully people remember I have a pussy, too, because she is just as greedy. But
I totally forgot you had one of them, you know? Like
just two buttholes.
I'm just kind of like, I'm like taken back now. I'm kind of curious. Like, I'm like, what is she going to do with her pussy now? Like, is she going to make that go inside out? Like, it's like Inside Out Boy, you know? Like, I just kind of feel like...
Whoa.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I don't know if I'm aging myself there. There used to be a cartoon where the kid, like, Inside Out Boy, like, he would fly on the swing set, and he would turn inside out, and, like, his insides were on the outside. Yeah, definitely Google that when you're done Googling rosebudding.
Yeah.
So I'm just like...
Let's see, rosebudding, bad dragon, invisible, or Inside Out Boy.
Inside Out Boy, yes. I'll have to find it. I'll tweet a picture to that when we send the link out for this podcast. So where can people find you at online? I mean, other than, Googling your name, like, are you active on social medias?
Yeah, I am. I'm pretty active on Twitter and Instagram are my two main jams. You can find me at Super Elanova because I'm so super, which is like my terrible joke that turned into like, everyone's like, she's super, like a superhero. And I'm like, no, I meant it like in the nerdy way, like I'm super. But yeah, at Super Elanova, and that is for Twitter and Instagram.
Well, we hope everybody is now introduced to gaping and rosebuds and what is it,
prolapsing.
Prolapsing. Yes, this is all terminology that I am writing down. This is all going to be in my vocabulary now, so I'm totally going to scare some people now when I talk about this, and I'm sure a lot of my boys are going to be listening to this podcast and be like, what the fuck were you talking about? And be like, dude, have an open mind. Have an open mind to this stuff. But we thank
they'll
you.
say they're scared, but they'll be into it at home.
Yeah, they'll search that shit after they're done listening to this, or they'll be playing this in the background as they're fucking Googling this stuff, and it's all good. It's all good. Be happy that you introduced me to it, and I was able to introduce them to it.
Yeah, more than happy to.
Now, is there anything else you want the fans to know, or any last words for them before you leave?
I mean, just love your own asshole as much as you love my asshole. I think a lot of dudes who watch me fuck my ass don't know what it's like to be fucked in the ass. I think it should be a two-way street. That's just, I don't know. Elanova loves assholes, yours and mine.
Well, there you have it. We appreciate you talking to us tonight and kind of explaining a lot of stuff, and hopefully I was able to ask a lot of questions or concerns that people might have that are not familiar with this type of stuff. Just thanks for talking to us, and we hope to see
thanks for having me.
More rosebuds and rose gardens blooming in the spring.
You definitely will. Keep an eye out.
All right, well, we hope to hear from you soon. You take care, okay?
Thanks. Bye. Hey, this is porn performer Elanova, and you're listening to Mixmaster B on MMB Radio.